Let's begin by telling you that state governors in Nigeria have rejected the 60,000 naira minimum wage as earlier proposed by the federal government. Organized labor had turned down the proposal as being insufficient. In a statement issued on Friday by the Director of Media and Public Affairs for the Governors Forum, Halima Ahmed, the governors said the proposed minimum wage is too high and not sustainable. The governors expressed concerns that if 60,000 naira is adopted as the minimum wage, many states will spend their entire federal allocations on salaries, leaving no resources for development projects. The NGF urged all parties involved in the negotiation process, particularly the labor unions, to consider all socioeconomic factors and reach a sustainable agreement. Meanwhile, the federal government has increased its offer of a new national minimum wage to 62,000 naira, while organized labor has reduced its demands from 494,000 naira to 250,000 naira. Now, this comes after the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, submitted the cost implication of national wage to President Bola Tinubu. Away from that, now to security matters. Nigeria's armed forces have rescued 4,641 hostages and neutralized 9,303 terrorists in 1 year. During the same period, troops also arrested 6,988 terrorists, including their logistics suppliers and informants. Director Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, made the disclosure during a one-year scorecard joint press conference by the Strategic Communications Interagency Advisory Policy Committee. He also noted that 9,562 Boko Haram ISWAP combatant fighters and their families surrendered to security forces. Meanwhile, Director of Public Relations and Strategic Communications, DSS, Peter Afunanya, had called for collective efforts to ensuring security and safety of Nigerians.
These collaborations have ensured that our security operations are comprehensive, they are strategic, and they are effective. It is worthy of note to state that not all our results can be reported at this time. This is as a result of the sensitive nature of some of the informations which are linked to ongoing operations as well as future operations. Nevertheless, we will share as much as we can from the security and the defense sector. This, we believe, will go a long way to counter misinformation, disinformation, and fake news. We also hope to galvanize support of citizens for ongoing operations across the country, as well as involve the citizens in our dealing with the security challenges across the country.
The loss of life of any Nigerian, whether military or DSS or any person for that matter, should be of concern to all of us. Even when we hear about death of any human being, it's a loss to humanity and it touches all of us. And so if any Nigerian is affected anywhere, we are as concerned as we are if a military officer is also affected.
The Nigeria Diaspora Forum has called on the federal government to ensure justice for the family of 44-year-old Ebuka Nwoko, who was allegedly murdered in the custody of the South African police. The country director of the forum, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, says that the incidents occurred on May the 17th and raises questions on whether government is willing to put an end to the killing of citizens outside the country.
We are the Nigerian Diaspora Forum, a non-governmental organization founded by a group of Nigerian professionals in diaspora with the primary aim of bettering the socio-economic social and economic lives of Nigerians in the diaspora and here in Nigeria. We are having this media briefing over the unlawful killing of late Mr. Ebuka Woko, a Nigerian aged 43 years old, who was manhandled and brutalized, killed in the northern Cape of South Africa by South African police in the early hours of 17th May 2024. The Nigerian Diaspora Forum, upon receiving this disheartening report on that fateful day from our team in South Africa, we swung into action as we did the first press release in the next day in Nigeria. And on the 21st of May 2024, we wrote a petition to the National Assembly addressed to the Honorable Speaker, and we also wrote a petition to Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we did wrote a petition to Chairman Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM. We believe the core duty of the police across the world is the protection of lives and properties. But the incidences of unlawful torture and killings of Nigerians by the South African police has sadly become a recurring event.
If you look around, you find out that developed countries in the world today are not basically, the development in a country is not basically caused by the indigenous alone. You have people that invest, that come to their country to invest. In states, in countries, US and so on, you find out that they welcome people from outside. It will enable the development to go far, because indigenous alone cannot give that, development you are looking at. So for any country in Africa to become an enemy to Nigerians because of the fact they are contributing to the development of your country, I don't think is wise.
The Universal Basic Education Commission said it will review aspects of the Universal Basic Education Act of 2004 that are hindering its smooth operation. Speaking in Lagos on Friday at the opening of a two-day retreat for the Senate Committee on Education with the theme Basic Education Implementation in Nigeria, Issues, Challenges and Way Forward, Executive Secretary UBEC Dr. Hamid Boboyi explained that due to societal developments and changes since 2004, the Act has become overdue for review. He stressed the need for the education system to address the country's challenges. Chairman of the event, Senator Gbenga Daniel, called for increased funding, tech integration, community engagement, and resource allocation for basic education. All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching News Central now. And now we'll go back to the discussion on the new minimum wage and, the debacle and the back and forth between the federal government and the NLC. We have our guest, a public affairs analyst, Francis Chilaka, and he's joining us to discuss further on this. A good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure.
All right. So first of all, sir, how do you think that the difference, in proposed minimum wage figures between the government and the NLC, would affect labor relations and potential industrial actions?
Well, I think the government has not acted in good faith, even though the labor has tried to act in good faith by calling off the strike. It's unfortunate that we're still going back and forth with this whole issue of the minimum wage. I think also that the problem is the fact that labor is talking about minimum wage, and labor is not talking about other indices that ought to be taken care of, in order to ensure that when you are paid whether 62,000, 60,000, 100,000, or 250,000, if the inflation is still going up, if the cost of living is still going up, that money becomes useless in the hands of those who have it. I foresee a situation where labor is likely to embark on an industrial action because 62,000 from 250 is a far cry from what anybody would expect. I know that, yes, the organized private sector is also saying, oh, if we go beyond this figure, it's going to be difficult for us to pay. But I think also that, there is a way out. Raise the wages, reduce the taxes, and everybody will be happy.
All right, so what are your thoughts on the governors, making excuses for FAC allocation, saying that that 60,000 naira is actually too much for a worker, a civil servant to actually earn, that they would spend their FAC allocation on salaries rather than developing the country? A lot of people seem to think that, if these governors have focused on, increasing their internally generated revenue and, making the states work, that this won't be an issue in the first place.
Well, the first thing with the governors is that we have a set of governors who are ruling like they're not ruling like governors. They're not ruling like people who have been elected by the people. They are ruling as if they are demigods. They're ruling Nigerian states as if they're running empires. It's unfortunate that the governors have come together to say, oh, we can't pay 60,000 naira. But then these are same governors who are allocating the state resources for religious pilgrimages, which ordinarily should not be their problem. These are same governors who are, collecting loans or collecting money from the federal government and dashing out to people that are not likely going to pay it back. So I think the governors are not being sincere, because I remember a few days back, there was a report of how much the governors have spent on entertainment. The governors are living, a life of affluence, and yet they don't want those who work, those who labor for the money that they are spending to also enjoy part of that money. So the governors are being very, very wicked. They are being very unrealistic. They have lost every sense of empathy and every sense of love for the same people that have voted them into power. And this brings to mind, to the forefront, where Nigerians need to begin to think straight before they elect anybody as their leader. They need to begin to think straight. This whole idea of having leaders who do not understand the real purpose of leadership, but all they understand is themselves. How many governors have fixed their states with all the allocations they have been getting? How many of them have done anything we can look back to and say, oh, this man has left a legacy that will go after him? None of them. I mean, if you compare the governors you have today and the governors of the times of the late Jack Condi, you'll find out that the governors we have today have no sense of development in their system. They have no sense of, patriotism. And that's a very bad situation we're faced with. We have governors who think of themselves and themselves alone, and they care less about the ordinary masses of this country. So any governor that is saying, no, it's going to affect our development, what have they done? Which of the governors can beat their chest and say they have built a road that will last for another 4 or 5 years? Okay. Which of them? None of the governors can say that. And we need to also get to this point where we must realize that whatever money the governors are spending in their so-called development, it's not their fault. It's the fault of the people. And the people must stop applauding the governors each time they construct roads, each time they construct schools and all of that. This is what they owe the Nigerian people. And until we begin to demand for accountability and transparency from these governors, this whole madness will continue.
All right, Francis. Now, considering that, the federal government had suggested 62,000 naira and the governors have rejected 60,000 naira, in your own opinion, how much, considering all the indices that you've mentioned, inflation and all that, how much do you think is, sustainable for workers to earn at this point?
Well, at this point in time, I would say that government, from the state to the federal, should be able to take this figure up to 100,000 a month. And I'm sure that the governors and the federal government can be able to pay it. 100,000 as a minimum wage for a Nigerian is not asking for too much. Because I'm telling you, a bag of rice today is 80,000 and the prices are not coming down. And you see, a lot of families are finding it difficult to survive because you talk of house rent, you talk of school fees, you talk of transportation, you talk of electricity, you talk of your data, you talk of everything you are doing in Nigeria today is becoming too expensive.
But so is there a possibility of the NLC and the federal government reaching that compromise from what you've seen so far?
Well, from what I'm seeing, I think that the federal government or the Labour has allowed the federal government to, box them into a corner. Because when they called off the strike, a lot of us said, oh, it's a good thing you don't go to negotiation carrying gun. But I think that the federal government is playing a very dangerous game, and I do not see Labour accepting 62,000. I do not see that. Okay. And it means that Labour is likely going to go back on their protest.
All right, well, thank you so much for your thoughts on this topic. Francis Chilaka, thank you so much. We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, away from that, the Nigerian Correctional Service has revealed plans to unveil the pictures of escaped inmates of the recent Suleja jailbreak in the upcoming weeks. No fewer than 120 inmates escaped in April this year from the Medium Security Custodial Center in Suleja, Niger State, following the torrential rainfall that damaged the walls of the prison facility. The public relations officer of the service made this known in Abuja while answering questions from newsmen at a joint press briefing of security, defense and response agencies in Abuja. He says that 23 escapees have already been recaptured and efforts are underway to recapture those still at large.
Jailbreak that gave way for about 120 inmates that escaped from our custodial centers. I want to say here that there is a very huge effort from the service to recapture the fleeing inmates. And I want to say it here that we have been able to recapture so far about 23, which are back to our facilities now. And about the biometrics, this week I want to make it very clear, or I want to say it very clear here, that by the grace of God this week, we'll have their pictures and their details out, because we are working with other security agencies that have been able to, get their pictures and other details of them. So this week, our ICT unit are also working in collaboration with NEPSI and Immigration Office, and there is huge effort in the recovery of such information that is needed for us to put at the public space. You will get it this week.
Nigeria's National Human Rights Commission says that over 50,000 complaints of human rights violations were recorded across the 36 states of the country, including the Federal Capital Territory, in the month of May. Now, this was made known in the nation's capital, Abuja, during the presentation of its monthly Human Rights Violations Dashboard on complaints reported to the Commission. Idong Joseph attended the briefing and now joins me on the news.
The presentation of the 2024 Human Rights Situation Dashboard represents the 5th edition of complaints received, including unreported cases of rights violation monitored across the country. According to the National Human Rights Commission, while the report for the first 4 months of the year witnessed about 23,000 cases of rights violation, there was an upsurge as the figure doubled in May.
This month's edition features 55,218 complaints received by the Commission, with violations against state actors topping the chart. The violations recorded in the month of May impacted on an estimated 157,368 persons across the country.
Complaints against state actors rose to an astronomical 31,000. One state alone accounted for almost 80% of this, and that is Bauchi, where the Nigerian police did mass arrests.
The arrest and prolonged detention of journalists and the killings of law enforcement officers were visibly mentioned in the report for the month of May. The National Human Rights Commission adds that increased violence against children also witnessed a spike in the same months. The Commission adds that recorded cases of domestic violence was high in the northeast and the north-central regions of the country.
Rape and defilement of minors. In fact, there is a state in Nigeria that in May alone we recorded 12.
While the report largely accused state actors of rights violations, it also condemned the killings and abductions which were recorded.
The police and the armed forces accounted for 40,138. It should also worry you that 7,600 parents were actually reported as violating the rights of their children.
Our Human Rights Observatory recorded 298 killings and 360 abductions, largely attributed to terrorists and bandit groups.
The report sheds more light on the state of human rights violations in Nigeria, hoping that government will rise to the occasion and address them.
Violence erupted at the government secondary school in Orozo, located at the Orozo community, a suburb of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. This was after the school's disciplinary committee destroyed mobile phones allegedly seized from students writing the senior school certificate examination who had intended to use them for alleged examination malpractice. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
This is Al-Qadri Mubarak, the examination officer of Government Secondary School Orozo in the Federal Capital Territory.
Another one. This is the exact position where my son is sitting in the car, and I think some splash of the glasses went straight to his ear.
Mubarak was recently attacked by his students after the school authority destroyed mobile phones allegedly belonging to students who had attempted to use them for examination malpractice. He says that he escaped with his life.
These are some of the stones. You can see it. This is what they did to my car.
These children, during examination, they came in with phones and we asked them not to. Unfortunately, some of them were caught. Immediately they were served with question paper. I got them before, without the supervisor even knowing, because as at then, the supervisor is yet to tell them to start the exams, but they were already having it in their custody. So I asked them to give me the phones. So I took the phones, not given me willingly, but I took it using force to take it from them, from the examination hall. And I submitted it to the disciplinary unit, and then disciplinary committee sat over it, and the verdict was passed that these phones should be destroyed. These phones were destroyed, and these students felt the exam officer is against them and the school is against them. And because of that, they attacked me while I was going home and did all of this.
Also, the swift reaction of the police outpost at the Orozo community saved the situation and averted what would have ended as a tragedy.
Thank God for the Nigerian police, the Orozo outpost, where the OC took a swift action for distress, and he was able to get some of the victims, and I think they were in his custody earlier before now, but I don't know now. But the last time I left there, they were still there. The way teachers are treated will make children to disobey teachers and see them like nothing. Just imagine a graduate of several years, see the classrooms. Just imagine teaching under this kind of condition. What do you expect from the children? When they get home, some of them stay under the AC, some of them are in a good home, and then they come to school, they see you in the school here, they think you are just, so they don't respect teachers any longer. So when we tell them, and some of the parents contribute to this, some of the parents encourage them, because I remembered very well that before this time, the principal invited all the SS3 parents for a meeting and told them that this school is going to be examination malpractice free. We have done that in SS1, we have done that while they're in SS2, now that they're in SS3. Please, we are not going to tolerate that. And because of this, we lost over 300 students to other centers. And the little that were left, amidst them, we have this few that just did all of this.
This is the examination hall of Government Secondary School Orozo here in Abuja. And if those admonishments given by Mr. Mubarak are anything to go by, it is expected that the next time examinations are written here, it will be conducted in a peaceful atmosphere without any fracas. And that is a plus to the Nigerian educational system. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for that report. Now, residents of southeast Nigeria have long called for the creation of a new state in the region to have an equal number of states as other zones in Nigeria. This push for an additional state was discussed at the 2014 National Conference under former President Goodluck Jonathan. On Thursday, the House of Representatives took a significant step by considering a bill proposing Olu State. The bill, sponsored by Ikenga Ugochinyere, representing the Idiato North-South Federal Constituency, seeks to amend the Constitution and increase the number of states in Nigeria to 37. News Central's Chinwe Ugele sought public opinion on the proposed Olu State and its potential benefits for the Southeast region.
The Southeast, one of Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones, is the only one with just 5 states. This imbalance compared to other states with 6 or 7 states has fueled calls for the creation of a new state in the region. Though the 2014 National Conference recommendation for the creation of an additional state in the Southeast is yet to be implemented, a bill for the creation of Olu State is currently being debated in the House of Representatives.
If they can create this state they want to create now, and they will be, and those people that will go back to their place will go back to their place, and we will get here, we'll get something. I'll be very happy. If we can get job, I'll be very grateful. For instance, in my state, in Imo State, we have 27 local governments, and the one local government is there. It's like 2 local governments in other states, so it's too large. It's too large. I believe that when we have additional states, that will help us a lot. That is my belief.
Like West, like North and the West. We know how many states are there, but this is only 5 states, which if they give us extra 3 or 4 states, at least, we'll be okay.
Beyond the political advantage of increased representation, what other benefits might an additional state bring to the Southeast region? However, some argue that an additional state would not necessarily improve the region's development.
At Lagos, so I see that we are not. We are, in fact, we are down. We are down in infrastructure and other things.
We want the 3 entities that make up Nigeria to go on their own way, because I suppose that the agreement that held Nigeria together, I think it has expired. So I don't think Nigeria staying together, whether you create 20 states or 100 states, I don't think it will add meaning to the life of Nigeria.
You can stay without one state. What are we looking for one state for? In this economy that is like this, we are looking for one state. We don't need more states.
Even with the Olu State proposal, a major hurdle remains: internal disagreements within the Southeast. Disagreements may arise concerning the new state's name, the specific communities it should encompass, and whether alternative proposals like Aba State, Njaba State, Adada State, or Equity State should be considered first. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Data experts in Nigeria have called on media experts and journalists to embrace data as a key tool to improving their reporting and storytelling. They say this is necessary to add in credibility to their reports and fundamental to holding government accountability, which is part of their key objective. Amadin Uyi reports.
Data are a collection of discrete or continuous values that convey information describing the quantity, quality, fact, and statistics. With data becoming increasingly more important in recent years and key to sustainability of several sectors, experts say the world must embrace data for adequate planning.
Data is see it as the seed for insight, is the seed for intelligence, is the seed for reforms, change, development. Every need that you have, If you're able to have the right data to help you interpret why you made the decision you made, what decision you should make, why the things that are happening around us are happening, I think the data just provides the seed of insight, knowledge, and intelligence for livelihood, for development, and for growth.
Data is central to the project of journalism of the modern time. All the stories that we do, and we need to recreate, we need to use to achieve purpose. The whole purpose of writing, reporting, and covering is all about data.
Data is, you'll hear it said in different circles, data is the new gold, data is the new oil, data is the new frontier. It is true. Because with a good use of data, it is the most versatile, natural resource that the world shares today collectively.
As data experts converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, for the launch of the Data Fight Hub and the unveiling of the veteran journalist, Dapo Olorunyomi Theatre, they say journalists must embrace data to improve their reporting, storytelling, and help add credibility to their reports.
Bringing data is actually one way of being an inclusive form of communication, because there are people who may not be able to read things, but they can see the data and they can understand that. But more importantly, I think that data also helps to aggregate information that probably it will take you a very, very long time to read to understand, but presented in a simple format.
Nigeria, where we are struggling with so many issues, where our statistics are always suspect, our journalists must be up and doing in being able to investigate, patiently gather data, and make sense of the data for them to present to the public.
While the Data Fight Foundation has urged Nigerian journalists to ensure that data is embraced in their reporting, they say it can transform the nation's media space. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
As economic realities change in today's economy, the need to empower women to evolve from being stuck in their traditional roles is becoming more urgent. Today, more and more women are looking to explore their entrepreneurial abilities, and in line with this, an international labor organization certified Start Your Business workshop by a network of women entrepreneurs have set aside a day for empowerment for women, especially in this current challenging economy, with an ILO SYB training program. News Central's Bettina Ngweli tells us more.
Opinion about how the country can get better, but when it comes to doing something about it, we fall very far short.
The importance of empowering women economically cannot be overemphasized. It has been established the involvement of women in income generation tends to boost family income, support children's education, improve health of family members, provide food, build assets for the family, and contribute to general development of economies.
I like that process because what we did also immediately after the training, we divided the trainees amongst the trainers. And so they're going to work with them for 6 months, beginning from the month from after this for till end of the year.
The impact of women entrepreneurs on the economy is substantial, with their ventures generating employment opportunities for millions of individuals in the country, contributing significantly to economic growth and job creation. Some participants at this ILO SYB training program on women empowerment had this to say.
Before now, maybe they pay school fees, I'll put it in my bag. Before you know it, I buy the charge card. I buy this, I buy that. But now, I've placed myself on salary. I placed myself on salary and said, I told my husband to work, now I'm a salary earner. Meaning that if this money finishes, my salary has finished.
You see, business models, whether it's a big business, a small business, a mini business, once there are processes, once you follow this like methodologies, like science, but no matter the size of a business, if you follow each step, the business will grow, the business will do well, you will thrive in business.
As the country's economic conditions worsen, every avenue to boost the income of the average Nigerian family is a welcome development. As such, programs as this one which builds the entrepreneurial ability of women to better contribute to the financial stability of their families, is definitely a plus. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Hi, Chief, sir.
Now let's head to East Africa, where the African Union has condemned a massacre in a Sudanese village where at least 150 civilians, including around 35 children, were killed. African Union Commission Chief Musa Faki Mahamat called on the warring sides to end the fighting unconditionally and to facilitate unhindered humanitarian access to the needy population. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres also condemned the paramilitary attack, saying it was high time for all parties to silence their guns and commit to a path towards sustainable peace. Pro-democracy activists say more than 100 people died when RSF forces attacked the central village of Wad al-Nura with heavy artillery on Wednesday. Sudan has been ravaged by war since April 2023, when fighting broke out between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. A court has termed as punishable by death an attempted coup in Kinshasa last month by 3 American suspects and 50 other defendants. Marcel Malanga and Taylor Christian Thompson, both 21 and 36-year-old respectively, Benjamin Ruben Zelman Polun, are among defendants in the case and were the first to stand before the judge to hear the charges against them. Defendants wore blue and yellow prison uniforms, taking the stand one by one under a large tent in the grounds of the Ndolo military prison to hear the charges.
Ils ont proclamé publiquement la prise du pouvoir par New Zaïre, annonçant ainsi la fin du pouvoir du président Félix Tshisekedi. À l'occasion, ils ont eu à hisser les drapeaux de leur mouvement, rebelles et terroristes, dans l'enceinte du Palais de la Nation. Les informe que ces faits-là sont punis à mort.
Le ministère public, c'est le maître de l'action publique, c'est lui qui vient accuser. Mais nous, notre rôle, c'est de voir dans quelle mesure nous pouvons tirer nos clients de ces sanctions ou de ces peines qui paraissent très, très lourdes.
In business, Uganda suffered a rare nationwide electricity blackout for several hours on Friday, its state-run power grid operator said, adding that electricity, although was gradually restored late in the afternoon. The grid shutdown happened during testing a newly completed Chinese-built $1.5 billion 600-megawatt hydropower plant on the Nile River in the country's north. This has been confirmed by Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited in a post on X platform. Uganda has an installed power generation capacity of 2,000 megawatts, according to the Energy Ministry, and it generates more power than it consumes and has been exploring the possibility of exporting the surplus to neighbors like South Sudan and Kenya. In the world of sports, Nigerian defender Chidozie Awaziem stated that there is still hope for Nigeria to qualify for the FIFA World Cup. Reacting to the 1-1 draw in Uyo, he said there are still games to play and they will try their hardest to qualify for the World Cup.
I feel we're still in the qualifiers. We've got more games to go, so I feel what the team showed today is that we're not lost. We're still.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigerian government proposes 62,000 naira, Labour demands 250,000 naira. We also told you that Nigerian Correctional Service to release pictures of escaped Suleja inmates. Finally, you heard that African Union condemns Sudan's paramilitary massacre in Sudan. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.